Hi there and welcome back. This is Gina from McGuire. So I'm a big fan of creating cards that open a little bit differently. I think it's a great way to kind of stand out from typical store-bought cards. So today I'm going to share some Z-fold card designs. I've done these in past videos, but today I'm going to show you 3 different options, and hopefully one of these will be something that you would like to give a try. The nice thing about these designs is that you can use any stamps or dies that you may have on hand. And then at the end of this video, I do have some bonus cards, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so let's start with a basic Z-fold card. This is the easiest way to do it, and then I'll show you my favorite way after that. Okay, so for this card, I'm using the Concord and 9th Laurel Frames stamp set and the coordinating die set. This is a very simple layering stamp set that creates a beautiful frame, and then there are some lovely sentiments with it. And it's a nice large stamp set that's 6 by 8. Here are the coordinating dies, and I like that includes the word hello and the word there, along with a banner and some other little pieces to go along with it. I'm using the MISTI stamping tool today just to make the process easier. I'm starting with the base layer of the Laurel frame, and I'm going to start with a light ink. Since I've never used a stamp before, I just rub my hand on the stamp, and that seems to kind of prep it before I ink and stamp it. This is key lime ink from Gina Designs. It's a nice bright green. And then I'll wipe that stamp clean with a dry cloth. Now for the base layer of the flower cluster, I'm using Hero Art's soft vanilla ink. I've never used this stamp before, so I just rub my hand on it to prep it, and then I can stamp that. This is a beautiful soft yellow color, and I've been reaching for it more and more lately, and I'll use it again on the background. Let's go back to the frame. This time for the second layer, I'll stamp with a little bit of a darker green. This is Lucky Clover from Gina Designs. And here's a tip for you. When you're doing stamp layering, I like to let the layer dry before I stamp another layer on top of it. That allows each layer to stay crisp and not kind of bleed into each other. So in this case, I did the leaves, then I moved to the flower, and then I moved back to the leaves to give them some time to dry in between. You can also heat it with the heat gun to dry it quickly if you wanted to. For the second layer of the flowers, I did sweet corn ink, and then I moved to the wild dandelion for the third layer. This is a nice vivid yellow that really stands out nicely. Okay, now that I've finished my little frame, I just think that's gorgeous, and I didn't have to do anything but some basic stamping. I'm going to use the coordinating die to cut this out. Now it's time to create the note card. I'll be using the Concord and 9th Stripes and Sayings stamp set. This has that large stripe stamp and also some stitch lines and some hearts and words that fit nicely along the stripes, so you can create really cool backgrounds, even plaid. I have a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch side folding white note card, just a typical note card. And we're going to actually stamp the stripes on the inside of the card for this technique. So I'm putting my open card into my MISTI. Now you could do this many ways. This is just what made sense to me at the time. And I'm putting a couple pieces of tape over there on the right, and I'll put my magnet up at the top. Notice that my card is hanging out of the MISTI. That's okay. You can use your MISTI that way. It gives you more ways to use it. I'm lining up the edge of my stripe stamp with the crease on the note card. So the stripes end at that crease. I'm going to ink this up with that Hero Arts soft vanilla ink. This is the same one that I used on the flowers, so they'll match nicely. And I'll stamp this, and you'll see that my stripes go along this side of the card and stop at that crease at the center of the card, or at the score line. Okay, once I have this side done, I'm going to rotate the card in my MISTI, and I'm actually going to move my stripes. I want to make sure that the stripes on this side of the card line up with the stripes at that crease line. So I'm just going to go ahead and reline it all up. So I'll take my stripes, line them up to be right at that edge of the crease, and that my stripes meet right at the middle. So again, I'll stamp with the Hero Arts soft vanilla ink, and there we have a white note card with stripes in the inside of the card. I know that seems a little weird, but for this card design, that's what you do. Okay, so next we can move on to adding that Z-fold. Now when you do the Z-fold card design, very easy. All you have to do is a score line down the center of the front of the card. This card is 4 1/4 inches wide, so the center is 2 1/8. That's where that little dot is on my scoring board. So at 2 1/8, you're going to do a score line. So I'll just do a score line right here. Then we have our fold line, and we just fold the front of the card back. So I'm folding it over to meet with the crease. You want to use a bone folder to really press that into place. And there we have our Z-fold card. So basically I just folded the front note card flap back on itself. Okay, now to get our little frame ready to glue on the front, I'm adding some details with a Copic marker. This is YG17. I like to do this sometimes with my layered stamped images, just to give it a little more depth. After I added those little details, I'm going to add the sentiment to the center. Now the sentiment, I used that Laurel Frames die set. I die cut 3 hello die cuts from black cardstock and glued them on top of each other, so I would have this dimensional hello. Next, I want to stamp frame or friend underneath it, but I don't want to mess it up at this point. So I'm using my MISTI stamping tool, along with the MISTI Creative Corners. That's that L-shaped piece, and I use it to make sure that I put my sentiment straight in the MISTI. Then I'm stamping that up with black ink and stamping it right below the hello. Now I'm using strong liquid adhesive to glue this flower frame on that little flap, on that folded flap only. So only put glue on the back left side of the frame, and we'll place that on the front of the card. On the inside of the card, I die cut a white large circle, and I'll glue that in the center. This will be the place where I can write a personal message or stamp another greeting if I want to. Next, I used glossy accents to cover my hello die cut, just so that it would dry with some nice shine. Now, people ask about the difference between the glossy accents and the Tonic crystal glaze, which I use often too. I like both products quite a bit. The Tonic crystal glaze comes out easier and never gets clogged on me, but I find that the Ranger glossy accents dry with more shine. So really it just depends on your needs, but I use them both and I reach for them both often. So here's the finished card, and you can see how it opens easily to reveal a message on the inside. And keep in mind, you can use this card design for any die cut or stamped shape you want to add to the front there. I've done cards with this design in the past, and I'll link to them here in case you want to check those out too. I also used the stripe stamp to stamp the flap of a matching envelope. It's one of the nice things about background stamps is they're great for stamping those envelope flaps. Okay, my next card design is similar, but this time I'm using partial die cutting. This is definitely my favorite way to do a Z-fold card design, and it's quite easy. For this one, I'm using the Concord & Ninth Triple Step Thank You stamp set. This is a great set because there are many different thank you and thanks messages you can build up. There's your gem, and then there's little gem images. You're a peach with little peach images, and from the bottom of my heart with the different hearts. I'm going to be using the peach today because I thought that was clever. I again have a side folding 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch note card. I've opened it up, and I'm going to draw a line down the center of the front of the card. Again, that's at 2 1/8 of an inch. So I'm using my T-roller and just drawing a line right down the center of the front of the card. I'm going to draw it a little bit darker so you can see it better on the screen. Okay, so now we're going to do some partial die cutting. This is really easy. I'm using the die for the large thank you sentiment from the set I just showed you, and I'm putting it right at the center. Now I'm going to use my die cut machine to partially die cut this. I'm only going to cut part of it. So I'm putting this into my die cut machine. Where the edge of that cutting plate is the edge of where the cutting will be. Anything under the plate will cut, anything hanging out won't. So I'm only cutting that inside portion of the thank you. That edge hanging out will stay intact. So I'll run this through my machine, and we'll see that the cutting goes right up to that pencil line that we did. Very easy to do. Partial die cutting is a great technique and allows you to do many new things with your dies. Okay, so now we're going to add the scoring so we can fold. So I'm using my scoreboard again, and I'll score at that 2 1/8 inch line where we have the pencil line. But notice I only score outside of the die cutting that we did. So only from the edge of the cutting out to the edge of the card. So now we can go ahead and fold that back, and look at that. We have our fun Z-fold design, and it's kind of one layer on the front. So whereas on the last card we just glued a die cut onto the Z-fold, this time we did partial die cutting, so it's all connected, and I really think it gives a fun look. Okay, so after I erased my pencil line, we can start doing the stamping. This thank you is really cool. It has 3 steps to it. And there are these little arrows that stick out of the clear stamp that allow you to line up each of the 3 images to create the thank you sentiment. But I found I didn't need it. I found that I could just eyeball it and line it up very easily. And here is the second layer. See that little arrow that sticks out of the side of the H? That's to help you line it up. But I just found that I could line up where the letters meet. At these 2 points, easy peasy to do. This time I'll stamp with Fresh Peach from Hero Arts. That first color that I stamped, that's my new favorite color. It is Sea Glass from Gina K Design, that teal color. Now for the third and final layer, I'll line these up. Easy to line up again. This time I'm using Gina K Lucky Clover ink. And you'll see how that's fitting into that partial die cutting that we did earlier. And look at that. We have a continuous piece on the front. And when you open it up, it just fits inside of itself. It's a really fun design. For stamping in the background, I used the Concord & 9th Sunshine Turnabout stamp set. Now this is a turnabout stamp. When you get it, you draw an X on the back of it. And then you have a turntable. That's that 6x6 piece in there with the X on it. You line up the X's and put it into a stamping tool. If you've never seen a turnabout stamp before, don't worry. I'm going to show you how to do this on the next card. So I'm going to tape my thank you card right into the center of that turntable, putting some tape on there. And I'm going to open up my card and mask off the front of the card. I'm only wanting to stamp the sunshine stamp on the inside of the card right now. We'll do the front of the card later. So I'll ink up the stamp with that Hero Arts Soft Vanilla ink again. Stamp it once and then rotate it just 1 turn. And I'll repeat that. I'll ink it up with the soft vanilla ink and stamp it again. Then we'll do that a 3rd time, rotating between. And then you'll see I have a little bit of a predicament. I didn't think about this when I started, but I can't stamp that 4th one because the front of my card is in the way. So I'm going to take my card out and fold the card back on itself. I should have just done that from the beginning, but honestly, I didn't think about it. So I'm putting it back into my MISTI, kind of taping it in place. And then I can stamp the 4th sunshine down. And I have this beautiful sun ray kind of coming out from the center point of the card. Okay, now it's time to repeat that process on the front of the card. So I do want to do some masking. I don't want to stamp over that thank you message in the center because it turned out so good. Want to keep it nice and clean. So I have a thank you die cut that I created earlier that I decided not to use. So I'm going to use that as a mask. You could instead just die cut from a piece of masking paper and put that over your thank you message. I'm just going to use this and put a little bit of temporary adhesive on the back of it so that it masks off our stamping. Then I will repeat that sunshine process where I ink it up with the soft vanilla ink, stamp it, rotate it, and repeat until we have the sunburst going across the front of the card too. So now I can carefully remove the mask and we have what's like a 1-layer fun fold card design. I don't know what it is about this, but I love this look, the continuous look. It's definitely worth that little bit of extra effort to do that partial die cutting. Next, I stamped a little peach from that same thank you stamp set. And I'm going to kind of have it hang off the U on thank you. And I'm using my MISTI to stamp You're a Peach with black ink. I'm definitely using a stamping tool at this point because I don't want to mess it up. And I'm stamping it so you can see the greeting when the card is open or closed. So here is the completed card. I added a few gems to it, just some buttercream gems from Pretty Pink Posh. You can write your greeting on the inside there where the sun rays all meet together. And I added a few little white dots to each of the letters in the peach just for a little accent. So I like that this card design is a little bit different and there's very little bulk to it. You can try this with any large die cut shape that you have. A simple shape is better. Even a circle or a heart is great for this. Okay, my third card example is kind of like the first. However, this one folds down towards the person as they open it. On this one, I'm using a new Turnabout stamp from Concord & 9th that I am just crazy about. It's great for creating different backgrounds. Now remember how I used the Sunshine Turnabout before with the X on the back? This is how you do it. When you get a Turnabout stamp, you only have to do this once. You lay the stamp onto the packaging, that guide that's on the back of the packaging. You line it up. Then you draw an X on the back of your stamp, that lines up with the X on the guide. So you can see how I'm drawing the X right where the X is on the guide. Once you've done this once, you never have to do it again. That X is on the back of your stamp and it doesn't hurt it. Next, you need to create a 6x6 piece of paper and draw an X connecting the corners. This is one I made a while ago and I laminated it, so I can use it with all my Turnabout stamps. So I line up the X's, close the door on my MISTI, and now we're ready to do some stamping. So I'm putting a little temporary adhesive on the center of my turntable, that's that square piece with the X, and I've taped down to it a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch top folding note card. I'm stamping my first time with the Hero Art Soft Vanilla ink. Now we're going to turn that turntable, that's that square piece, turn it once, and we're going to stamp with our next color. This is the Key Lime from Gina K. Then we'll we'll rotate the turntable a third time. This time I'm stamping with the Lucky Clover ink, again from Gina K. This is a good Kelly green color, would be great for Christmas too. Then for the final turn, I'll do the Sea Glass ink, which is that perfect teal color. I tell you, these Turnabout stamp sets are genius because look at this background. All of the little pieces fit together nicely and make a continuous, beautiful pattern. Okay, so now I'm going to flip this over and stamp the same thing on the back side of this card. I'll stamp with the first color, rotate it, and repeat 4 times. Once I'm done, I can take my card out and open it up, and we're going to score halfway along the front of the card. Since this is 5.5 inches wide, we're going to score it 2 3/4 inches right here, so halfway across the front of the card. So now we can fold that back onto itself. So we're going to fold it down, and there we have our card base. A little bit different than a typical card, but I think that's what makes it fun. And I am just blown away at that beautiful pattern that we created with that stamp. For the focal point of the card, I'm using the Concord and 9th Lovely Blooms die set. So from this die set, I cut the You Are Lovely 3 times from white cardstock, and I'm gluing those die cuts together to give them dimension. I also die cut the You Are Lovely from some pool colored cardstock and from some silver glitter cardstock. I want this to be a 2-tone sentiment. I want You Are to be in the pool, so I'm cutting the words You Are away from the word lovely. And I'll glue the pool You onto our stacked white die cut. So the white isn't going to actually show, it's just behind it for dimension. So here I'm putting down some strong liquid adhesive, add the U to it, and I'll do the same for the word Are. I want the word lovely to be in the silver glitter, so from that die cut, I'm cutting away the word You Are, and I'll glue the lovely letters down on top of that stacked white die cut. So we end up with this really cool looking stacked die cut, where the words You Are in the pool, the word lovely is in the silver glitter, and they meet up nicely in the middle. It takes a little bit of time to do this 2-tone look, but I definitely think it's worth it since it's the focal point of the card. Next, I die cut a white frame, which is from the same die set. Now this has a nice faux stitching on the inside edge, and the die actually also cuts a thin frame to go around it. So I'm gluing my little label here onto some white cardstock. Then I'm running my liquid adhesive right along the edge. It's real easy and fast to do this. I'm just putting a little bit of the glue around this. Then I can take that thin frame that the die cuts and I'll put it right around it. And I cut that from a pool color cardstock that matches the word You Are. I really like when dies cut that thin frame because I think it looks really cool that way instead of having a mat around it. So now I can glue this to that front flap. So remember to only put adhesive on the bottom half of that because we're only gluing it to that little flap on the bottom. Now I want to have a spot to write a sentiment on the inside, and I want it to line up perfectly with this piece that's on the front. So I die cut another, put liquid adhesive on the back. Now I'm just going to hold it on to the inside of the card, lining it up there. The liquid adhesive is facing up. I'll close the back of the card on it, and now that's positioned perfectly behind the one that's on the front. So the front one hides it completely. I again am going to run a line of liquid adhesive around this, and then we can add another little pool colored frame. So now the front and the inside of the card look the same, and we have a great place to write a little sentiment on the inside. I die cut a little peach heart to add to the front and decided to add little peach dots to the pattern in the background. This is an R22 Copic marker, but it was just another way to add a splash of color to the card. So here is the completed card. I covered the heart with some glossy accents. When you open up the card by pulling it down, you'll see that we have the same shape on the inside where we can write our little sentiment. It's just a different fun fold card design. And you could even do this design to open to the side or even open upwards if you want to. And keep in mind, you could have also done this card with that partial die cutting technique. Okay, now before we go, I just have some bonus cards. Totally unrelated, but I had to use these products. This is a new Concord and Ninth Heartfelt Smile stamp set. It's such a simple, sweet sentiment. And they also have these new dip-dyed cards and envelopes. These are brilliant. The cards and the envelopes come with this color already on them. This beautiful wash of color. It looks like it's dip-dyed. All I did was silver glitter heat emboss that sentiment on the card, and then I did the heart on the matching envelope. It took me no time at all, and they're just beautiful, simple, classic cards. No, these have nothing to do with the video, but I wanted to show you because I just thought they were so much fun. Okay, so there you have it, some fun fold cards. I link my supplies in the YouTube description below. You can also check out these other videos with fun folds here in the middle. Thank you for spending time with me today. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you very soon.